Welcome to 5 Sneaky Tactics in Chivalry 2. Number 5. Stealing the first hit. In the next game you play, I want you to pay attention to how enemies approach you on the battlefield. Most enemies are going to run straight at you and sprint attack, or hold down a heavy swing. Take advantage of this by outranging your opponent with a stab. A fairly safe combo you can do is to kick immediately after your stab. If the enemy panic holds block after getting hit, you'll get another free hit and have a massive lead in this fight. If you don't want something like this to happen to you, be careful of how you approach enemies and do not get into the habit of holding block after getting hit. Number 4. Punish missed attacks. You don't want to whiff attacks in this game because you can't block immediately after missing an attack, so there's a window where you can get hit. You can take advantage of this by first realizing that your opponent is not spacing correctly and is going to miss, then starting an attack of your own that hits your opponent right after their swing misses. The type of attack you want to use depends on the weapon. For longer weapons in the game, like the war club, glaive, two-handed spear, axes, warhammer, great sword, etc., me with the messer, punishing opponents that whiff attacks by outzoning them can be your entire playstyle. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. If you're a one-handed main, you're thinking, how is this useful for me? But don't worry, any weapon can punish misses at range with a throw. Same concept. Bait your enemy by attacking, then back up and start the throw during their attack so they won't be able to block it. It feels awesome when you pull this off and is probably my favorite technique to do in the game right now. Just make sure you actually hit the enemy with your throw. Number 3. Confuse with special attacks. Incorporating special attacks is one of the most deceptive tactics, but it won't be for long. The further we get from launch, the less effective this technique will be. The reason is that every weapon has a specific animation, so you can cross up opponents that don't recognize the animation because you can't counter a special attack, you have to block or dodge them. If an opponent doesn't know what the animation looks like for your weapon, they might think you're just doing a heavy attack, will go for a counter, and eat a ton of damage. Even if they do block your attack, it's going to cost them a bunch of stamina. Make sure you're spacing special attacks appropriately, as it's easy to get hit during the slow windup. If you're having trouble recognizing special attacks and keep getting hit by them, I would recommend playing around with different weapons and testing out their specials so you get used to them. Number 2, the Hail Mary. The Hail Mary is what I call randomly throwing your weapon at someone, and this is surprisingly effective as the animation is pretty fast, and in the middle of an intense fight you can kind of forget that you can throw your weapon, so it catches people off guard. Note that this is different than throwing your weapon on purpose to punish a specific attack. Now, is this cheesy? Yes, it's very cheesy, but it works. Just make sure you don't throw all of your weapons because you can get caught out with nothing and give your opponent a free kill. For anyone using an axe, the throw animation looks like an overhead, so if you want to get really sneaky, you can use a bunch of overheads and then do a throw. Practicing your accuracy with throws is crucial because they can be used to snipe and secure kills in all game modes. And getting kills with throws is really fun to do. And lastly, at number 1, we have jabs. Jabs are, in my opinion, the most versatile and one of the best attacks in the game. If you aren't consistently using jabs, you should be, and here's why. Jabs are extremely fast. Opponents that use slow, two-handed weapons and ones that like to feint all the time are asking to get jabbed. Jabs interrupt your opponent's attacks, which instantly changes the flow of combat and can startle opponents. The jab into stab combo is dirty. On a successful jab, you gain back stamina, which can help out in tough situations. Jabs do 10 damage and even more with the shield. All of this puts immense pressure on your opponents already, But if you're using a one-handed weapon as your main, the pressure is almost unfair. Let me explain. If you and your opponent both have similar speed weapons, if you jab and it gets blocked, and you follow up with an attack while your opponent riposts, their accelerated swing is going to hit before you can hit them with your regular swing. Now, if you have the speed advantage, you're using a one-handed sword and they have a slower two-handed weapon, this doesn't apply, as even though your opponent blocked your jab and it should be their turn to swing, and I'm going to use that term very loosely, it isn't. A normal one-handed swing after a jab is faster than the riposte from some weapons. So, to be 100% clear, you should not attack after a blocked jab if your weapon is slower than or equal speed as your opponent's. But if it's faster, you can pretty safely risk attacking after a blocked jab. So this immense pressure with one-handed weapons can be built up by just getting in your opponent's face and alternating weapon swings and jabbing wildly. Now, if you're not trying the one-handed jab cheese, when should you jab? What should you be careful of? And how can you avoid it? You should jab after you get hit to interrupt your enemy's combo, to interrupt enemy swings that aren't accelerated, after you land a hit, and to set up the kick mix-up. If you jab all the time, your opponent will start holding block more and more in anticipation of your jab. Take advantage of this by kicking. You should be careful of jabbing after your opponent blocks an attack, getting into the habit of always following up a jab with a swing, and trying to jab people that are backing away from you. If you want to prevent getting jabbed or kicked, I recommend spamming stabs whenever you see someone try to get close to you. It is so much harder to jab an enemy that is stabbing because the windup protects in front of you. Stab spam beats jab spam. Oh, and you should be very careful of any lunatics running around with a flaming chicken. The damage from getting jabbed is insane, and in my opinion, should just get taken out of the game. If you stayed with me all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found some of these techniques useful.